Hey everybody, Marcus C. Williams here. And I want to take a moment and talk to you guys about what's going on in Minnesota with this most recent ICE shooting. I want to talk to you about what's going on in Minnesota with this most recent ICE shooting and what's going on with immigration, globalism, and the future of our country as we know it, plus some of the maneuvers that Trump has been making. I think that we really need to talk about a lot of things because we're not having those type of conversations. And honestly, it's starting to get really concerning to see everybody at each other's throats when nothing is really being talked about at all. We've become too, as I like to say, teamified as a nation. And what that means is we see things as black and white. We see things as red versus blue. We see things as Democrat versus Republican. But very often we're not able to grasp the whole picture of everything that's going on because we're too distracted, not just with the day to day travails that are going on, but also with a number of other things that they've tried to push on us that are differences. And because they're differences, they want to exacerbate them and turn us against each other or use them as a fulcrum to wedge us apart. And that's been a tool of Marxism forever. So when you see these people that are screaming about communism and socialism and stuff like that, this is some of the tactics that you see them use. Why do they use those tactics? Because they're successful. Because people like to see, oh, well, this looks like me. Oh, well, I feel this way. Oh, well, I want everybody else to feel the same way that I do. And if they don't feel the same way that I do, they're wrong. That's not the right outlook in the world, especially when it comes to us being a nation like the United States of America, which is my country and I love it so much. So, real quick, hit that share button, hit the like button, get that message out there. And if you want to support the efforts, you can either on either side right here, it shows you how you can support, or if you're watching vertical, up there at the top. So, let's jump into this real quick. This new shooting in Minnesota, why are people getting shot in Minnesota? Well, why are people out running the streets acting a whole loon? You know what I'm saying? People out there acting crazy, and then higher level altercations happen, and then they're like, look at the police or look at ICE. They're so bad. Are they though? Why was your behind showing your behind outside like you don't have no home training? Do people not have home training anymore? I remember when I was little, people would see somebody misbehave and they'd be like, you ain't got no home training. I guess nobody has home training that's out here in these streets acting a raw riot, talking about down with ICE, down with Trump, all of this nonsense. You don't even know why you're doing that. Why are you doing that? Let's ask that question. Let's start by asking that question and see who is doing what. I'll pop your comments up on the screen as they start to come in. Okay, I see. I see you. So when we have these conversations about what's going on with these crazy people in Minnesota, we have to ask ourselves, why are they like that, right? And some people will say, oh, well, we're fighting for what's right. You're fighting for what's right. What's right? Explain to me, like I'm 5 years old, what you, being somebody that's protesting ICE, sees as what's right, or the government is wrong. I'm a big anti-government person, right? Like I am very big. I'm a strong Republican. I'm a strong conservative. I have strong traditional values, but I do not like the government. That's why I'm a Republican, because Republicans are supposed to stand for small government. Some of them don't, and I got my issues with them. And y'all know, if y'all follow me, I talk about that all the time. But the fact of the matter is, we got all these people that are like, oh, well, the illegal aliens are people too, and this, that, and the duh. Did somebody say illegal aliens are not people? They're just not supposed to be in this country. Hello? Like, make it make sense. Duh. Like, this is what we've got to go. What we've got going on. We need more people to say, hey, check yourself for a second. Why are you protesting in favor of these illegal aliens? How does it benefit the United States of America? Can we talk about that? Please, at least for a couple of seconds. We need to. We need to talk about what's going on in America, what's benefiting America, and not standing up for these illegal aliens who didn't even come into the country right. We got all of these people that are trying to come in our country in the right way, but people are standing up and championing for illegal aliens. Somebody's got to make it make sense. Who put in your head that you need to champion for those people? All of the sudden, everybody's a savior of the illegal aliens. Why is that? Somebody must have put that idea in your head. That is not an organic thought. Look at the refugees that are coming into this. It is treasonous. It is treasonous. Look at these. Let me say this. Look at the refugees that are coming in. Look at the people that are coming into our country legally. And then you tell me that those people don't deserve to be assisted. Of course, people that are coming here legally deserve assistance. Of course, refugees deserve assistance. But you're out here championing for illegal aliens, right? Like, you're not championing for the people that came in the right way, that went through the hard procedures to actually come into America. You're not out here championing for naturalized citizens and stuff like that. You're out here championing for illegal aliens. You're not championing for the Puerto Ricans and the struggle of the black man. You're not championing for white poverty or anything like that. You're championing for illegal aliens. Can somebody make that make sense? This has to be an inorganic thought, right? Because nobody just woke up one day and said, oh, let me fight for the illegal aliens. Let me fight for these people who I don't know, who don't care about America, who are out here waving foreign flags. Y'all should have known what time it was when people were out here waving Ukrainian flags, or waving Israeli flags, or waving Mexican flags, or waving Palestinian flags. And yes, I did point out Israel and Palestine, because we're going to have that conversation today for sure. So we need to have a conversation about all of these people in our country, in the United States of America, flying all of these other flags, and y'all are championing for them, not the United States of America, not American citizens. And we need to have a conversation about that. Because if we're America, shouldn't our citizens come first? I see these people out here standing up for these illegal aliens. And where I live, we got a ton of homeless people. I guarantee you on the news tomorrow where I live, we'll have some dead homeless people because of the cold. I guarantee you. This is something that needs to be talked about. We've got education is out of control. Not just where I live in New York State. And it's that way in many states, especially the blue states. The youth's future are being stolen away because the quality of the education just isn't there for them to get anything, even a McDonald's job, more or less a high-end, high technical profession. Can we talk about that? No, we're prioritizing illegal aliens. This is a serious, serious problem. Why are we focusing on this? Who told people to focus on this? That doesn't even talk about how hard it is for people to buy a house, people that are struggling to retire, the cost of the value of the dollar being less. And here we are, we have people in our country that just want to act up for the sole purpose of these illegal aliens. And that's a very, 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 and the Somali flag, you're right, I didn't talk about the Somali flag and the Somali flag, but they want to act up for these illegal aliens. And how come nobody is talking about our issues as American citizens? They don't care about us. We don't matter, but you're out there marching for them. I saw my state senator, mind you guys, not my federal senator. My federal senator is Chuck Schumer. Terrible trash. That's a whole separate conversation. But my state senator, Jeremy Cooney, was out there parading around with these people that were crying about something that happened in Minnesota. I don't care about what happened in Minnesota. No offense. I do care, but I don't care because you're my senator. You're not the senator for Minnesota. You know, you're not in the Minnesota State House. You're in the New York State House. Why are you out here with these people talking about what's going on in Minnesota when we got people dying here, getting stabbed here, getting shot here in our district, and you're out there complaining about something that's going on over there? Somebody's got to make that make sense to me. It's really, really, really crazy. And they get into office and they take an oath, not just to our nation and to uphold our Constitution, but also to be representatives of our citizens, not foreigners. not illegal aliens, of our citizens. And here they are protesting and saying, we're going to fight for the immigrants and this and the third. And when they say immigrants, they conflate everything together because it's not about people who are immigrating normally. It's about illegal aliens. Okay? This is very important, and it's a conversation that needs to have. Somebody said it's mostly the people that have TDS. Well, but it's also other people. What's happened is this, and I'll give you an example, right? We had the Renee Good situation, which is crazy because look at her name. How's that her name? And she just so happened to be causing all types of trouble. She was being bad. Like, I mean, are we serious? Like, the whole thing smells royally. But even still, with it smelling bad, we have to ask ourselves, why was she out there? Then her so-called partner was up there championing her on, saying, oh, yeah, drive off. And apparently her partner has all of these violent tendencies and stuff like that and likes to abuse children and so forth. But it's neither here nor there. Why are you putting yourself in that situation? These aren't regular protests. These aren't people standing on the sidewalk protesting quietly, calmly, or whatever the case is, even if it was on the sidewalk and was a little uproarious. These are people trying to impede federal investigations, federal policing actions. And then she's over here trying to run over people with the car. And then people are like, oh, no, they shot her wrongly. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. You know why? Because she had no business to do that to begin with. She ushered that in on herself because she was behaving in a manner, in a way in which is completely unreasonable. And we can't talk about that. Maybe she didn't have to die. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I'm not God. Everything works on his time. But the fact of the matter is that her behavior in a situation where she was interfering in a federal investigation is what caused her death. But these people want to try to unite around her like she's some savior, holier than thou type of person because she's so righteous for standing up for illegal aliens who are criminals. Let me be very clear right now. ICE is out here right now collecting these criminal illegal aliens. Now, when it comes to ICE, I think that they need to deport more of these illegal aliens. Okay. I think we need to start denaturalizations because a lot of these people are here fraudulently, like I said earlier, out here waving all of these flags of foreign nations, supporting other nations, talking about they're going to topple the American government. You're going to topple the American government for foreign interests? Can you make that make sense to me? How are you going to tell me that you're going to topple America for foreign interests? That's not okay. That's not cool. That's not cute. You are treasonous. You are an enemy of our country and of every American citizen. This is for real. Then, as we have these conversations about this important stuff, we have to ask us, why are they interfering? Who told them that they should interfere in these operations? Is it just because they hate Trump? Is that what it is? Is it because Trump could arrest the devil and put the devil behind bars and they'd be like, free the devil? Like, is this crazy? Like, I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing? They arrested Maduro and everybody's like, free Maduro. Wait a second. The Democrats just last year were talking about how bad Maduro is and what he's doing and how much they support that other crazy lady. Like, what's going on here? Why can't we have this conversation? So we've got these people out here fighting back and forth with ICE and stuff like that. And it's a serious, serious issue. So people say, oh, well, she was innocent. She didn't do anything. Yes, she did. She wasn't innocent. Again, she's out here acting a raw riot, okay, impeding a federal investigation and then trying to run over officers. Okay, whether you say she was or she wasn't is immaterial because the fact of her actions show that she was not concerned for the officers or their proximity to her vehicle, which she knew the officer was in front of it. You know what I'm saying? And people are like, oh, well, the officer could judge the distance between her and this and that. And shut up. Shut up. So if the officer could judge that, could she judge that? These are just crazy questions we need to ask. But hey, it's too much like right to actually ask the questions. We need to have a serious conversation about these things because, I mean, why not, right? Like everybody is out here screaming about this issue or that issue, but it's screaming. Nobody's listening. Nobody's having a dialogue. And the first question that needs to be answered is, why are you out here for illegal aliens and you don't have the energy to protest for quality education for the children? I have never once seen any protest on the television about these people protesting because of the quality of education for the children. Drop a comment if you've seen them protest for the children. Never seen it happen. Never seen it happen. Why? I live in an area where there's a lot of crime. Never seen these crazy people out here protesting to stop the crime or the violence or victims' rights. Never seen them protest for any of that. I've seen them out here protesting for criminals. I've seen them out here protesting for illegal aliens. I've seen them out here protesting for everything except real tangible issues that need to be addressed. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And nobody wants to have this conversation. But we must have those conversations. Please hit the like button and the share button. It doesn't cost you nothing. All right. And if you want to support, you can support on the side of the screens, tell you how to do it, or right above on the top, depending on if you're watching us vertical. So as we have these conversations, it's important that we ask those questions. Why are these people out here? Right? Like, why are they out here protesting for these illegal aliens? Who told them that that is a righteous cause? Somebody had to tell them. Well, I'll tell you who told them. The internet told them. The internet told them. These crazy institutions told them that. And Trump hasn't even really been in that long, and he hasn't deported that many people. You know what I'm saying? Obama deported more people. Bill Clinton deported more people. And we can't have those conversations because I guess Orange Man bad, right? Orange Man bad. That's all that anybody has to say. And a lot of these people that are in these different riots and stuff like that are paid agitators. They'll say, oh, well, some people are paid protesters. Yes, some people are paid protesters. But the more important people to watch are the paid agitators. Okay? We got to look out for them because they'll be in these different groups throwing rocks, hitting people, pushing people, causing problems. I saw this one lady in my area talking about she's going to be passing out whistles for people to impede the issues with with that ICE are doing, right? So she wants to stop ICE and make their job difficult. Let me tell you about the last time they did that here in Rochester, where I live. HIS was doing a sting on a child trafficking ring and a human trafficking ring. Let me say that again so you understand clearly what was happening. HIS, Homeland Security Investigations, that's like the DHS version of the FBI, okay? They were doing an investigation on these people that were human trafficking. Now, in my city, it's a medium-sized city, but there's a lot of human trafficking, a lot of prostitution, and a lot of people that don't have any business being here that seem to be either homeless or on drugs or being used as prostitutes. But more than that, we got a lot of people that go missing here all the time. So HIS was going after these human traffickers. And all of these protesters came out of the woodwork to try to stop them from pulling over these human traffickers, which were charged human traffickers, by the way. That's why they had a warrant out for their arrest. Like, can we be real about that? Then my mayor got on the TV along with the police chief. The mayor's up there like, the police shouldn't have helped them do crowd control because they needed help. There was like 8 HIS officers and then like a crowd of like 70, 80 people. Like, why wouldn't they call for backup? This is real serious. Like, we need to talk about that. But no, they don't want any of these people out here to actually be arrested. You mean to tell me what is going on? And yes, everything that I say, I firmly stand by. Okay, nobody's paying me. I wish they would pay me to talk about what I'm passionate about, which is my nation, preserving our country, and all of that stuff. I wish y'all cut me a check for real, because that's something that I'm very passionate about, is my nation. So, but and I'm not a member of the 7K club either, and I never will be, because America only, y'all. That's it. So we have to have the conversation about where are all these people coming from that got this idea. So this lady is out here locally now passing out these whistles and stuff. We have a lot of criminal activity in my city, and they don't put criminals in jail here. They don't. Like, criminals run amok, do whatever they want, shoot up the neighborhood, stab people in broad daylight, and get out of jail the same day, if they even get picked up at all. That's not a joke. I wish that was hyperbole, but this is what's happening in my home that I love and I fight for every single day. So this is very important to me. So we've got these people passing out these whistles here, talking about they want to stop ICE from our neighborhoods. Why? Why? Most of the black people that live in my mostly black neighborhood want these illegal aliens gone. They're taking up whole sections of our streets. Okay, there's one street not far from where I live where the whole neighborhood, the whole street, one of the whole streets in the neighborhood is taken up by illegal aliens, not refugees, because we got a whole different section for refugees not far from where I live in a different area. Okay, then we got the legal immigrants, but these aren't legal immigrants. Okay, so can we have that conversation? Why don't you want these people to actually arrest these criminals? Well, because you've been told that they're the enemy, they're so bad, but your behavior is making them perform more higher level activities as far as policing and militarization goes. Y'all out here acting a raw riot and then get hands put on you and then wonder why you got hands put on you when you're cursing in people's face, spitting in people's face, going rah, 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 blowing, what do you call them things? Blowing whistles in people's ears and stuff like that. I'd knock somebody's teeth out the other side of their mouth. They blow a whistle in my face. That whistle be so far down their throat, it'd be a problem. So more power to all of these officers that are out here just taking that. Because I would not take that as an individual. This is why I'm not a police officer right now, because I'm not dealing with none of that. So God bless all of our officers that are still wearing the shield right now, because I just wouldn't want to. So I'm so supportive of them, because given all of the stuff that they have to deal with, it's crazy. I wouldn't want to do it. It's not for me. It's for somebody else. Okay. And these are the problems that we have to understand. What's happened over the last couple of years is they've disincentivized policing. They've tied the hands of the police. And if you look at Minnesota, not only have they had all of these defund the police nonsense going on in Minnesota, where the police can barely do any crime. I actually just saw, I don't remember whether it was like CNN or what was it, 60 Minutes or something. One of them did a report on like Minnesota and the police in one of the cities in Minnesota. It might have been Minneapolis. Don't quote me on that. Where they had it like a ride along and interviews with the police, and the police were saying, yeah, we can't even respond to all the calls. We don't have enough officers, all of the drugs and all of the this and all of the that. Craziness, right? So absolute craziness. But can we have that conversation? Now let's dig into it. This is a real serious thing. So hit the share button, hit the like button. As we dig into this, right? We look at the people that push to defund the police. We look at the people that push to let all the criminals out of jail. So that increases the amount of crime that's in the community, that's in the neighborhoods, the amount of chaos, and it stops police from being able to institute anything that even looks remotely like order. Now, we've got the situation where in Minnesota, the governor and the mayor, they're like, oh, the police shouldn't be out there, and the police should even stand up to ICE. I don't know if you saw the mayor of Minneapolis, the police chief was standing behind him, and he looked with a crazy face when the mayor said that. He's like, what? And I thought that was funny, but still, these people are saying that they should go against federal officers that are locking up criminals. They're going after criminals. And like I said before, I see they're going after criminals and I support that. But honestly, I think they need to deport more people. I want them to deport them harder. For real. I want all of them gone. This is a serious problem. And people say, oh, well, Marcus, it's not that big a deal. It's not why people need love and hugs and stuff like that. The American citizens need love and hugs. The American citizens deserve the first amount of resources that we have from the government. They deserve the medical, they deserve the Medicaid, they deserve the food stamps, they deserve the social services, they deserve the school monies, they deserve all of the housing vouchers, not foreigners, and daggone sure, not illegal aliens. None of them deserve anything from our country. There is a law that says, in the immigration law, that says that when you come to this country to come here legally, you have to prove that you won't be a burden on the state, like you won't be a ward of the state, like you won't be on social services and stuff like that. And apparently that's just a law that we don't enforce. Because if it was me, every one of them that's on social services will be out the door tomorrow. Because you're not American citizens. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of them don't care about our country. And it's tragic because our country has done so much for them. And I love me somebody that's a new American that loves our country, that's so passionate about our country. I love them people. Them my favorite. Okay. A lot of them have more patriotism than a lot of Americans, especially these crazy ones running out here doing all types of craziness. It's crazy. And as we have these conversations about these serious issues of what's going on in Minnesota, let me jump ahead to what happened today, this morning, where I don't know. I guess this lady was out there acting a raw riot in front of ICE or whatever, impeding them as they usually do. And then she got all in their way and they pushed her out of the way. So some guy comes over and starts to act a raw riot, right? Allegedly, he's trying to help her, but really he's interfering in what's going on. This is how people behave. So they try to blow that out of proportion, and then they try to paint him like some innocent bystander or whatever when he's armed, right? Now, I'm very strong on the Second Amendment. I believe very firmly in carrying a firearm. I believe very firmly that everybody should be armed, but that's a separate conversation. The point is we got these people online, and many of you might have seen them telling people to take up arms against ICE and to shoot them and to do all of this and all of that. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, who's paying these people? You really need to think, who's pushing this? They're pushing people to shoot federal officers? What's that going to lead to? And that's a conversation we need to have. What is that going to lead to if they start shooting officers? Can we have that conversation? We need to. We need to have that conversation, but nobody wants to have it. This is a serious problem. Why are we not talking about what happens if they shoot federal agents? When they're out here talking about they're going to shoot federal, I'd lock everybody up online. I'd go after every single person online talking about, oh, they're going to shoot federal agents. That's a thought for inside your head. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not something that you say out loud. Like, are you crazy? Like, that's real problems. Like, you're tripping balls. Like, what are you doing? What are you trying to encourage? Like, they're trying to encourage the deterioration of our nation. They're trying to encourage separatism. They're trying to encourage division. They're trying to encourage a so-called revolution. Now, wait a second. They want a revolution in our country in honor of foreigners. I want you to think about that for a second. These people want a revolution in honor of foreigners in our nation. They're all treasonous. They should all go to prison. Facts, full stop. Okay? Like, I'm not a big fan of the government. I think the government should have been tipped over and poured out a long time ago. And I stand by that. Okay? But the fact that you want to overturn the American government, not for the citizens, for foreigners and foreign interests and Marxism and socialism, which is antithetical to our nation's foundations, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's treasonous. And that's the behavior that they're trying to be out here and they're pushing. This is really crazy, and it's a problem. But nobody wants to have that conversation. These people are creating the situation that they say that they don't want. So clip this. This is exactly what they're saying they don't want. They say they don't want military police. Okay, they say they don't want more federal policing, but they're out here acting a raw riot. So what is going to happen if they behave crazy like they're acting up? It's going to encourage more heavy federal level policing. And people like me who have been speaking up against that for years, like I can't even say no to them because you're out here doing everything that you can to hinder legitimate federal interactions and searching for these criminals. Like, I don't want them to militarize the police more. I don't want them to federalize the police more. I've been arguing against that for years. But here, all of the sudden now, Trump is in office and he's a good bad guy. So we're going to focus on him and what he's doing and make him like he's some new Nazi leader or something like that. Like he's Mr. Mustachio. So everything that he do must be wrong and evil, and we'll show him, right? What type of crazy nonsense is that? If these people that call themselves socialists and communists and anti-fascists are out here behaving all types of crazy, they're behaving all types of crazy, what do you think is going to happen? You think they're not going to have to call in more federal level police? They're not going to have to call in the National Guard if you're behaving all crazy, preventing them from doing their actual duties? Do you think that that's not going to happen? So you tell me that you don't want it, but then you behave like you want the belt. You know, you ever have a little kid or babysit a child and they're like, oh, well, and they do something bad and you're like, I'm going to spank you. And they're like, no, I don't want a spanking. But they keep doing bad behavior. Well, clearly you want the belt if you're going to be out here, keep acting a raw fool. I don't want the military to move in. I don't want them to issue the Insurrection Act. And that's another thing. Where is all this talk of the Insurrection Act coming from? It wasn't from Trump. It wasn't from, what's his name? Stephen Miller. Like if Stephen Miller ain't saying it, he say some crazy outlandish stuff sometimes, real way more serious than even I would be like, you know, maybe you need to have one cup of coffee, not two, dude. But even he didn't say anything about putting that forth. So it's coming from the news and these leftists that are like, oh, Trump's going to use the Insurrection Act. Trump didn't say anything about that until they started talking about it. And he's like, no, I'm not going to use that or whatever the case is. But you're saying you don't want the boot, but you're doing everything you can to circulate this concept that they're going to use the boot because of what you're doing. And then you go out and you keep doing what you're doing. Can you make that make sense to me? If you don't want that end result, why would you behave in the manner that's going to usher it in? And who's really behind the scenes pushing that? We need to have these conversations because clearly all of this stuff is orchestrated together. It's all working for one purpose. And I tell you this right now. What's happening, and I call it the shadow hand, right? We've got foreign interests. We've got billionaires that are largely funding these nonprofits and these activity groups that are out here acting a raw riot, and some of them that are just behind the scenes doing some other shady stuff. We've got these people that are just plain corrupt that want to use all of the chaos to raise up their own sales and benefit their own selves and their own bank accounts. And then we've got China. So these are the fingers of the hand that are behind the scenes moving stuff around. And they're all working to the same goal, which is instability. Because off of the instability, they gain power. But we can't talk about that because people are too teamified and they're like, oh, Republicans, oh, Democrats, oh, this, oh, that. You know what the thumb of the shadow hand is? It's the government itself. Not Trump, not Obama, not Harris, not anybody. It's the government itself, because the government is a behemoth that does want nothing more than to continue to grow itself and expand itself. That's why I'm a Republican, because I believe in small government. And I stand on that. Shrink the government, y'all. We need to shrink the government. We need to shrink all the departments and everything. Don't get me started on deregulation. But we need this for the simple fact and the strength that the government itself is a threat. As it continues to get bigger, it continues to flex more power over us as the individual sovereign. And that's something that we need to get back to. This whole conversation about rugged individualism versus warm collectivism, which is crazy. That's not even a real thing, warm collectivism, unless you're talking about burning the wood boards from your house to stay warm. Like it's crazy. Like we're built on rugged individualism, and these people are pushing everything more and more to the government. Now watch this. The same people that are out here protesting, talking about, oh, they're anti-fascist, which means they're not for big government, are the same people that are for big government. They want the government to do more. When the Democrats were in office, these same people were like, oh, the government needs to do more. They're always talking about the government needs to take your guns. And now all of a sudden they're pro 2A. Make it make sense. What they're doing is they're trying to create a situation in which there is some type of serious activity so that they can take away more firearms rights. We have to see that this is all being maneuvered behind the scenes. It's very, very serious, and we need to have this conversation. But there are so many people that'll try to detract. There are so many people that'll try to say so much crazy things, and nobody will say anything. Nobody will do anything because we're stuck and we're locked in this conflict of red versus blue, Democrat versus Republican. And again, behind the scenes, it's the shadow hand. The shadow hand is one, the thumb is big government itself. It doesn't matter who's in the office. Okay. Two, the foreign interests. Okay. Foreign interests and foreign countries. Three, you've got the billionaires. Okay, that are funding all of these nonprofits and these crazy organizations out here getting these people to act up, as well as other billionaires behind the scenes doing other crazy stuff. Four, okay, China, y'all. We got to remember that China is always doing everything that they can to manipulate our nation and break us apart because it gives them more power. And not just in the United States, but on the world scale. That's what we see happening with Canada. We'll talk about that in a couple moments. And then also just the people that are involved with all of the shenanigans or in the government itself, but a lot of the people that are outside of the government that are just involved that want to raise their own seal or help themselves get money or whatever, grift off of the stuff. But can we have those conversations? No, because everything's black and white. Everything's Democrat and Republican. It's so much more serious than just that simplified situation. And none of that takes into account the world scale of what's going on. And that's what we need to really talk about. What's going on in the world? What's happening in the world? Why is this happening in the US? And why is it happening in the US right now? Do you know? If you know why this is happening right now of all times of times, drop a comment in the comments, okay? Also, hit the like button and the share button. So we just had the Davos, right? The Davos event with the World Economic Forum. And in the World Economic Forum, that's where all of the super wealthy people and the leaders of the Western world and everybody from all around the world that has all the money, they go to Switzerland and they all party and hobnob together and talk about how they're going to rule over us poors and what they're going to do to us and where they're going to move everything in the future. That just happened at Davos. Drink water, stay hydrated. So that just happened at Davos. And we had Trump go up there, and Trump spoke, and he was like, listen, I'm not playing with none of y'all. Y'all been manipulating America. Y'all been acting a raw riot. And since I've gotten back in office, all I've been doing is handling business. I'm working on fixing our economy. I'm working on making us the strongest nation in the world, and we are. And I've done a great job. And he went on to say, and look at Canada acting a raw riot, talking about they're out here going to be best buddies with China now. Now, if you guys don't know, there's a history there with China and Canada, and China really letting all of these people from China, I guess you would say, infiltrate Canada. So with that happening and people not talking about it, go look up what happened with Huawei and the Huawei's daughter. I think she was like one of the high-level executives of the company as well, vice president or something. But look up what happened with that. Okay, look up the Chinese training in Canada. Look up that. Look up the Chinese police stations in Canada. Look that up. So Mark Carney is over there, all there sucking on the toes of Xi Jinping, and so is England right now. England's about to open up a giant, what do you call it? A giant embassy that is right over these giant data cables, in which China can easily hack into because it runs right underneath their huge embassy, which is a couple hundred rooms big, which people are talking about. They're going to kidnap people off the street and hold them there and torture them, because that's what China does, international repression. So you can look that up. So this is something that's very serious, what's going on. So when Canada says, oh, we're going to get all buddy-buddy with China, that's a problem. Like, are they dumb? Like, are they stupid? Like, Mark Carney isn't stupid. He was the head of the BIS. And if you want to look up some shady type of people, you think the World Economic Forum is shady, you think George Soros is shady, you want to talk about these international bankers. I seen some of them comments down there. I see the group chat going, okay, the international bankers. Talk about the BIS. Go look up the BIS, the Bank of International Settlements. Craziness. Like, if you thought the IMF was bad, they're way worse. Look them up too if you don't know who they are. So when we have these conversations about what's going on over there, Trump's talking about how great a job he's done. He's refocused America on America and America's interests. And this is what he's talking about in his speech. But what was very interesting is, he was like, listen, we're going to do what's best for our country. And you're either with us or we're just going to cut you out. And we're going to work with whoever's with us. And that's something that's very, very, very interesting, you know, because usually if you look at the world stage, it's everybody wants to do this whole bilateral, bicameral, whatever you want to call it, cooperation nonsense travesty, right? Like the UN. The UN is super trash. I'm glad we're getting out of the UN. Let's get out of the UN. Okay? Because the UN is outlived its usefulness. You know, it started off as the League of Nations and it was serving the interests of the United States, and it no longer serves the interests of the United States. So we need to get out of the UN. Later for the UN. I guess we're still in the UN because there are like these green regulations and some health regulations or whatever that we're still dealing with. But we just pulled out of the World Health Organization. Thank God for that, because didn't nobody want the nonsense going on over there that they got going on. So we're out of that. Lord willing, we'll get out of the UN soon. And I don't have a problem with getting out of NATO either. So a lot of people, yes, Rochester, New York. Terry, that's you. I see you. Rochester, New York is where I am, Terry. So when we're talking about this stuff that's going on internationally, we have to understand that there's a lot of pieces in play. Greenland is in play. Trump talked about Greenland there. He's like, listen, you're either going to give me Greenland or you're not going to give me Greenland, and I'm going to remember that y'all didn't give me Greenland. So before he left over there, he had a deal worked out where essentially we're going to get rights in perpetuity to Greenland or whatever. We'll see how it comes out at the end of the day. So I honestly wasn't very happy about that. I kind of want Greenland to be part of a territory of the United States of America now. You promised me, and now you're talking about some other rights in perpetuity too. I don't want rights in perpetuity. I want it to be part of America. Period. Full stop. Okay. You sold me a dream. I want the dream. Give it to me now. Okay. So, and I say that as a joke, but it's really, really a real thing, you know, and we need to have these conversations. If we look at the issue of Greenland, right? And I'm going to get back to the Davos situation in a second. If we look at the issue with Greenland, we need Greenland strategically because it's right between North America and Russia, right? So if missiles were to come from Russia, the shortest way would be over the Arctic, which would be right to us. So there's also the option of international trade up there. So the more international trade activity, if you don't have safety and security in those routes up there in the Arctic, then the enemy's going to dominate it. It's that simple. So we need control of that area over there. Honestly, I believe very firmly now, look, if you look at it on a map, we need Svalbard also. Slavbad, or however you say it, we need that also, which is another island chain. I think Norway owns them, but we need them too. So that'll be interesting, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that. But we need it because we're building this Golden Dome concept, which if you don't know what the Golden Dome is, I encourage you to look into it more. But essentially, it's like a missile defense system to really block anybody from shooting missiles into the US. Okay. Now, Canada, and this goes back to Mark Carney and his nonsense with China, Canada is supposed to be working with us to build the Golden Dome, but they want to be jackoffs and they don't want to help. And this is the problem. This is why we're at odds with Canada right now. And somebody will say, oh, well, it's because we told them we want them to be the 51st state or whatever the case is. Good. They should be. Okay. And people will say, oh, well, it's America is being colonialist or imperialist or whatever the case is. Who cares? I don't care. I want America to be imperial America. Like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. You don't want it. We're being colonialist and imperial. So America should be the most dominant country in the world. And I say that because I'm an American. If I was French, I probably think it's the French. Okay. But that's where I stand on the thing. Full stop. It's my nation. We need to be focused on our people, and we need to be focused on growing our country's economy, our defense, and helping out our people. Like, what's wrong with that? Like, people are stupid. Like, are you serious? Like, it's really, really bad. So this is a conversation that we need to have. Why is Canada giving us a hard time now? Why are they meeting up with China? Because China is trying to destroy the US. They've for years declared war against our country, and nobody's even paying attention. Like, nothing's happening. Like, everything is absolutely okay. So this is something that we need to have a talk about. China is committing agricultural warfare against us. China is committing ecological warfare against us. They are committing psychological warfare against us. They are committing all types of different warfare against us. They're just doing everything except shooting bullets. Cyber warfare, biological warfare, COVID and stuff like that. All of the diseases that they found in that disease manufacturing lab that China had in LA. Let's talk about that. We can't talk about that. Go look that up because that's crazy. China had a disease lab where they were cultivating poisonous diseases right in California. Go look that up. That got busted up a couple months ago. That was crazy. So these type of conversations are very drastically important to have. This is very important. We look at Canada right now, and I really want to harp on Canada right now because I need you to take in your head and think about North America, right? Goes Mexico, United States, which is actually the United Mexican States. So that sounds like it's America to me too. So we've got the North America. So Mexico, United States, Canada, Alaska over here, Greenland over here. So if we're going to do a missile shield project, Canada is right there. We need to put missile shields in Canada. Right now, we provide most of Canada's protection. Canada's military is smaller than the NYPD. That's a fact. Go check that out. That's crazy. So, I mean, Canada can't bust a grape. They've also got places like Alberta, which is actively trying to leave Canada right now and join the United States. So that is amazing. I think that's really amazing that Alberta wants to leave Canada and become part of the United States. Come on in, Alberta. Arms are open, and we're here for you. Come on in. And I've also heard that Saskatchewan, to a lesser extent, is trying to secede also and become part of the United States. And I don't know about British Columbia, but we'll see about that too. Because those three provinces are overtaxed and overburdened, and they're overregulated by the Canadian government, and they want to not have them problems anymore. And if the referendum for Alberta to actually become part of the US goes through, that would be amazing. and it would give us probably Saskatchewan and British Columbia as well. Excuse me. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope that goes through. More power to my brothers and sisters in Alberta. Okay, may it happen. Now, as we have these conversations about what's going on in Canada, you see Mark Carney as being a big douchebag, and he's like, "Oh, America, you suck, this, that, and the third, da, 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 da." But your economy, 70, I think 76%, somewhere in there, relies on the United States of America. Like, what even are you talking about? Like, can we have that conversation? Like, your whole economy, they got mad at Trump the other day because Trump said Canada only exists because of the United States. It's true. It's true. If we decided that tomorrow we're not having anything to do with them, Canada be jacked up. They'd be jacked up. Okay. So we need to have that conversation, but nobody wants to have that conversation. They're out here talking all crazy outside of their neck when we're trying to build up a defensive system to protect us against Russia, to protect us against China. And here you are making deals with the enemy. Here you are making deals with the enemy. Why would you do that? How does that help or benefit the Canadian people who are already suffering? If you don't know what the Canadian people are going through, I'm not going to go through that in this episode, but go look into it. Like, it's not good at all. They are suffering bad. They can't buy nothing. The crime is through the roof. Okay, it's all bad. The energy's through the roof, and it's like New York State on steroids. Okay, it's really bad. But as we go through this, it is so serious for us to see the importance of having a united front on the North American continent. The next issue is going to be Mexico, but Mexico is pretty much falling in line with most things, but they do have a lot of stuff going on with China. And that's, again, China is the biggest issue. We got to get them out from over here. This is very, very serious. And if we don't have these conversations, who's going to? You tell me who's going to. So we get Greenland. We're good there. Then Canada hopefully will fall in line. But if it doesn't, maybe we should fund Alberta's secession. I'm just saying. Now, let's jump back over the sea and go back over the pond and go back to Switzerland real quick. So also at Davos, guess who was over there? We had Governor Lily Liver himself, okay, Governor Newsom, out there talking crazy out his neck, trying to make the president look bad on the national stage, on the international stage. When you're a governor of our country, like, you're trying to undermine what the president is doing. Are you dumb? He's not dumb. He's smart. He's highly intelligent. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. But he is a puppet for China. We got to get rid of that dude. Him, Eric Silwell, and a bunch of the rest of them, okay, who are agents for China. Mitch McConnell, too. Like, I don't even know how he's still in office as old as he is. But that's another conversation. But this is so serious, and we really need to see what China's doing to us. They are using Governor Newsom to try to undermine our efforts. What is up with that? And why can't we have a conversation about that? This is serious. It's really, really serious. And I don't think that anybody really understands what's going on unless you put it all together. So let's talk about what else is going on in the world stage and what's going on in, I guess you'd say, Europe, right? So look at Europe. Europe, there's only a couple of countries that are going around that actually have anything going for them. A lot of them have all of these issues with, what would you call it? Immigration, to say it loosely. And I guess it would be non-heritage Europeans, which apparently is a thing that they're saying now, non-heritage Europeans. That's funny, because the other about a week or two ago, what's his name? Vivek Ramaswamy got on the stage at AmFest and said, heritage Americans don't matter. That'd be me, my family, and anybody that is either one of the families from the original settlers, or American Indians, or even that would be people that are here from previous to the Civil War. So apparently, heritage to this Indian dude, okay, he's talking about our heritage doesn't matter and it doesn't make you more American. It absolutely does. It absolutely does make us more American. Like, you're tripping, and you can go back to India if that's the way that you feel. Okay, we got a red dot over here, Hindu, talking about, oh, God this and God that. Which of your 50 million gods? Don't play in my face. Okay, masquerading like you believe in the Christian God. There is only one true God. Okay, that is the Lord our Father, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit. Okay, we have a triune God, and that's it, and there ain't no more. Period. Now, when we have this stuff going on, where we've got these people telling us that being a heritage American doesn't mean anything, it's the same globalist rhetoric. You have to listen, and then you have to listen again. So now over in Europe, they're talking about all of these people, these foreigners and stuff like that, are causing problems because they're non-heritage Europeans. And it's true. It's very, very true. And that's a problem. But they try to manipulate the language, and they try to manipulate how you think, so you can't conceptualize what's going on. And when they do that, they got you. And that's what they want. They want to have you in a position where it doesn't matter whether you believe what they're talking about or not. They want to have it set up so you can't think outside of their little box or their little confines. And this is where we're going. So now we've got all these places in Europe that have problems with all of this migration nonsense, and it's tearing their whole area apart. So what Trump is saying, Trump is over there like, listen, UN doesn't work. The European Union is for trash. Okay, NATO doesn't work. Okay, we've been paying for NATO. We've been the ones who have been supplying NATO with all the weapons, and nobody's really paying their fair share. And that's serious, because we can't carry the weight for all of Europe, and then Europe wants to go and fight with Russia. We don't want to fight with Russia. You know how expensive that is? Not just money, but in manpower, in industrial power. Like, why would we want to fight with Russia if we didn't have to? Like, but France is over there like, yeah, we're going to fight with Russia and all of this and all of that. It's crazy. We're not doing that. We're not doing none of that. So why would we? And this is what people need to think about. If we're over here funding everything that goes on with Europe, we're funding the European Union because they collect more, I guess you would say, fines on our actual companies that are operating over in Europe than they actually get money-wise, monetarily. And that's kind of crazy. That's really, really crazy. And people need to look into these things, because this is all important. It's so important, but they don't want you to think about it. They want you to be distracted. They want you to be distracted. And who's this? Yeah, you're right. The other countries aren't doing their part. We're doing most of the work. We're carrying the water for everybody. And that's what we're having to deal with right now. And it's expensive, bro. It's expensive carrying the world on your back. And Trump doesn't want to do it anymore. He says, we're done with that. So he said, if the UN isn't going to play ball, we're not messing with them. We're not funding them no more. We're out of the World Health Organization, and we might be out of NATO. And people are like, oh, our allies in NATO, our allies in NATO. What allies in NATO? Who? Which allies in NATO? Make it make sense to me. The French, who rolled over in World War II? They some surrendering fools. Also, the French have gotten us into almost every single armed conflict that the U.S. has ever been in since the inception of the U.S. Go look it up. Go really dig into it, okay? The only war that I haven't been able to trace back to France is the Civil War, and that's yet because I haven't really dug into it. But every other armed conflict, France is right at the center of the bull, okay? So France is in NATO. What is France doing for us? We got Macron over there and his whole bull moose of a wife, okay, running a raw riot I think she beat him up. Like, I really think she punched him in his face. Okay. Because he was wearing those dark glasses at Davos up there talking about Trump is a bully. No, you look like you got bullied before you got on stage. Like somebody bust you in your eye with those huge old sunglasses. Go look at the pictures. If you didn't see the pictures, go look at the pictures of Macron at Davos. Okay. Because I mean, like, France is in NATO. Who else is in NATO? England. What is England doing? England lost to the Germans too. Like, if it wasn't for us, they wouldn't have been able to do anything. Like, England was getting tore up, bombed to the ground. Who are who NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization? Who? Spain? You know, Italy? Like, who in, I mean, maybe Italy a little bit now, but Italy got its own problems. They don't even got enough jobs for their people. Their social security and everything is all jacked up. So Italy can't barely do nothing about themselves. Shout out to, what's her name? Maloney, Georgia. I like her. Okay. She's trying to do some things for her country. Good luck for her. I hope she succeeds. But the rest of these clowns out there, Portugal, who is in NATO? Sweden, Norway and Sweden, who gave up to the Germans and helped the Germans. By the way, oh, well, they were, what do you call it? Non-combatants. Bull sugar. Tell that lie to somebody else. Okay. Learn your actual history and affairs. Like, it's crazy. How is NATO helping the United States? Who are they going to help us against? Russia? Oh, they can't help us against Russia. NATO can't help us against Russia. Who's NATO going to help us against? China? They're in bed with China. So who is NATO going to help us against? What, Africa? Africa's going to attack America? Africa ain't got, they don't have one unified nation state on their continent. Is Australia going to attack America? Like, who is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization going to help the U.S. fight against? Who? Like, if you know who NATO's going to help us fight against, please put it in the comments, because they ain't got no hands for Russia, okay? And they definitely ain't about to fight China. So who they going to help us fight? What is the point in NATO? Are we going to fight against another rise of Germany again when Germany's part of NATO now? Like, who's on crack? Who's stupid? They must take us for fools, you know? And here's the thing about NATO, right? Like, we've got all of these other military pacts and military treaties and stuff with these other people for defense and stuff like that. We don't need NATO. Like, we don't need NATO. We absolutely don't need NATO. There is not one. So somebody drop one reason why we should have NATO in the comments. Drop it in the comments. I want to see it. So this is the thing. We don't need NATO. NATO needs us. This is why they're over in Ukraine right now talking about, oh, we're going to help them in Ukraine. Who are you going to help in Ukraine? You can't help yourself. And Germany's out here rebuilding their army. I'm not so keen on that. I don't trust Germany. We see how Germany gets down. Okay? Every time, you know. So I don't really mess with Germany as a whole, as a concept of a political agency. And also the European Union, right? Like, all of these groups in NATO are all part of the European Union. And I know the European Union is more of a geopolitical economic unit, and NATO is more of a warfare situation. But because they're part of the European Union, if anything were to pop off in one part of it, the rest of the people would do something about it. So what are we even doing? Somebody make it make sense. Like, all of the contrasting and conflicting different security pacts and treaties and stuff like that we've already got going. We don't need NATO. NATO's not helping us. It's costing us a ton of money. It's costing us a ton of money. And I'm sick of it. Somebody said it was the Soviet Union who defeated Hitler, not the Americans. So that's not true. Okay? There is some truth to it, but it's not true. But I do appreciate you commenting with something that actually has some value, because there's a lot of people out there commenting dumb stuff. So I appreciate that. So as we talk about NATO and we talk about how people are out here, oh, poor NATO, NATO's sad. and they're going to be mad at us, and they're our allies. In what? Us putting our troops in their countries? You know what I'm saying? They don't have any armies. What is an English army? Hello? What is the English army? Explain it to me like I'm 5. You know, and England has one of the better prepared and modernized militaries out of all of Europe. Good for them in Brexit, okay? Like, are we being serious right now? Like, we're not being serious. All of these other countries are useless to us, okay? And like Trump said, Trump got on the stage at Davos. He was like, I don't even know if they'd come to our aid if we needed their aid. They wouldn't. They wouldn't come to our aid because who would we need their aid against? Russia? No. China? Possibly. And they're all in the pocket of China anyway. So they wouldn't come to our aid. What are they going to do? Going to say, oh, China, be nice. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're not going to do nothing. All they want to do is beat down on Russia because Russia is one of the few countries that isn't a member of these international banker collectives. Also so happens to be that Iran is not, but that's a whole nother conversation. Okay? Like, are we serious? Are we being really, really, really serious? Somebody said we've become that Germany. I don't know what that means, but please clarify. We are the world's bodyguards. We are. We are. And NATO is super trash. I agree with you too. This is exactly what the problem is. We're out here running around, policing the world, and it's time that we stop that. It's not benefiting us. It's costing us a ton of money. And it's really a problem. So when Trump comes into office and he's like, well, we're only going to be worried about the, I guess you call it the Western Hemisphere, right? So that's all of the Americas, North America, South America, Central America, right? He says that's all we're going to be worried about is our own backyard. Good. Good. Because I don't care about no sand countries. I don't care about none of the Africa, Australia, the Asia. Outside of Japan, I kind of like them. And the Philippines, I got a special affinity for them because we need them to become a state. We need them back. We should have never gave them up. We treated them bad when we had them, and we need to treat them real good and offer them full statehood if they want it, or they can just become a territory. So, but that's a longer conversation. I talk about that often. I really think that we need them back in the fold. Cuba too. Cuba's next though. We're coming for Cuba. Cuba's happening real soon. Next couple of months, maybe. We'll see what happens with Iran, but we'll be at Cuba soon. Okay? We're working on becoming the power in the Americas once again. Once again. We're working to run stuff in Americas once again because China has put their foot all in our backyard. Right now, they've just built last year a $3.5 billion deep water port in Peru, which means that they can put military ships in Peru. And now the U.S. Trump is putting a $1.2 billion port in, I forget what it's called, Calico or something like that, which is right near the port that China has, because we need a presence in South and Central America. And we can't have China there. China's all in Nicaragua. We're probably going to go in there again. If you guys don't know, we went into Nicaragua before, back in the 80s under George Bush the father, and that was to get rid of Noriega. So if you've heard of Noriega before, that's that whole situation. But China's all in there. They're all in Jamaica. Ask a Jamaican about the Chinese in Jamaica. Ask them what's going on there, you know? Ask them. Ask them why they aren't fighting against the Chinese. Anyway, let me not go in that direction. But ask them why they're not fighting against the Chinese in Jamaica. Ask questions. Okay? We really, really, really need to actually focus on America right now. What we can control and where we can control things. So Trump's put out this new proposal with the Board of Peace, right? And people are asking him, oh, is that going to rival the UN or this, that, and the third? And Trump's like, UN sucks. They haven't been doing what they're supposed to do for years. And now it's an issue with the UN trying to even establish anything. You saw the issue with, what was it, UNRWA? the people in the United Nations that were supposed to be doing the schools and the health and stuff in Palestine, and they were using them for trafficking different bombs and missile materials and all types of stuff is crazy. It's crazy, you know. And I'm not a big person that trusts Israel, but I distrust the UN more than I distrust Israel, if that makes any sense. So I believe them on this case. But this is the problem. This is the whole issue. Right now, the UN is not actually doing what we need them to do as America. So Trump said, that's fine. Let them do what they're going to do. We're going to open this board of peace, and the board of peace is going to actually administer the whole area of Gaza. So they're going to put all of this funding into it. They're going to work on rebuilding it. They're going to work on protecting it. And he's got all these different nations that are a part of it. He offered even Canada to come be a part of it. Canada said, well, we're looking at it, or whatever the case is. And then I think it was the foreign minister or whatever they got in Canada was like, no, we're not going to do it because, yeah. And Mark Carney said all that crazy stuff at Davos. So Trump said, well, I'm taking back my offer for you to be on this board. And previously, Mark Carney was like, well, we just start trying to figure out the financing options because a permanent board membership comes at the cost of $1 billion. I'm not sure exactly what that money is going to be used for, whether it's going to be used as like an investment account to do different projects and stuff, or whether it's going to be used for any type of military or security funding. I'm not sure what that'll be used for, but it's kind of nice that we won't be the ones spending all our money. Drink water, stay hydrated. So as we see what's going on with this thing with the Board of Peace, it's very interesting, and we'll see how it works out, because the people were asking Trump and interviewing him and saying, is that going to rival the UN? He said, I don't know, maybe, could be, you know. And if you look at the countries that he's trying to bring into the fold for that, he's even offered Russia to be on the Board of Peace there. Now, Russia is a big power in the world too, and I feel like a lot of people forget this. And this is something that has a lot to do with everything else that's going on in the world. Russia is a superpower. Like, I don't know why we play like they're not. Like, they're not as strong militarily as they used to be, and that's because of the fall of the Soviet Union, but that's a whole nother hour separate conversation. But they're becoming more powerful again. Good for them. They need more children, but that's a whole separate conversation. So they're arming back up, and they've got many groups like the Wagner Group. You guys have heard of them, I'm sure. Okay, go look them up if you're not familiar. But they've got these private military groups that are out there serving their various roles and pushing out what they want in all these different various countries. And they're very powerful. Russia's very powerful on the world stage. And they've got a leader that's really serious business for Russia, and that's Putin. And that he's doing a great job with Russia. Okay, even if people don't like him or don't like Russia, I don't like Russia because I'm American, you know, old habits die hard, you know. But he's done a great job for Russia after pulling them out of what was a complete destructive era at the end of the collapse of the Soviet Union. Like, there was complete destitution. So it's not crazy that all of the people there love him. He's the only leader that a couple of generations know. And he's also done great things. So the older people know a lot of the great things that he's done. They see what he's done, and they're like, okay, he's cool. Now, what's happened is Russia has tried to normalize their dealings with our country since they turned into the Russian Federation and no longer were the Soviet states, the Soviet socialist states. So, I mean, it's no wonder Trump is like, hey, come be a part of this board because you are a world power and we need to work on normalizing relationships. We do. And I don't care how much people feel some type of way about that. I stand very firmly on the fact that Russia could never defeat China. And without Russia's help to combat China, we'll take too big losses. So, and that's coming up soon. Sooner it looks like the more likely and more likely. But that's also the reason why Trump just started up this thing that I guess technically it's in the talking stage. It's on paper. It's not a real tangible thing yet, but it's called the C5, not the current C5 that we have right now, which is like the Central Asian nations, but it's the and it's the what do you call it? The excuse me. It's India, China, Russia, and America and Japan. So those are the countries that are going to be in it. Now, I don't think that China should be in it. Y'all know, if y'all watch me, y'all know how I feel about China. I can't stand me in China, but the US, China, Russia, India, Japan. So that's the five nations. It's the C5, and it's not the C5 plus one, which is, again, that's the Central Asian nation. So if you look it up, you got to look up the difference, because the C5 plus one is Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan. So there is a difference, and we do have to make sure that we're actually acknowledging that they're different things. So those are important things. So we'll see what happens with that. If that ever comes up, that would be very interesting. So I guess the concept is it supposed to be like something similar to, but different from the G8, where the world powers that are world powers in population and economy actually get to talk out different issues and work and collaborate on different things. And what's going on is they really want each country to have its own area, like a sphere of influence. Like if you go back and you study the Cold War, you'll hear about sphere of influence and stuff like that, but it goes and it transcends just that period of time. It's before and it's after. Sphere of influence is very important when it comes to economy, politics, and warfare. So that's very, very important to talk about. But if we were to do this thing with the C5 nations, we could just completely get away from most of what the G7 is doing, which isn't really helping us. Plus, Trump always said that he thought that Russia should have never been kicked out of the G8, and that's part of the problems that we're having today. I agree with him on that. Like, again, one of the largest powers in the world, and you're like, oh, well, we don't like you because you're bad, because you used to be bad, but now we just don't want to like you and let you in the club, even though you got rid of the socialists like you said you were going to. You broke apart your empire like you said you were going to. And, we just don't want you in the club now because we're doing things that are involving these private bankers and these banking cartels, and you don't want none of that. Okay, chat, get with me on that. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Okay, they don't want to be part of that banking system. Y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. So this is the conversation that needs to be had. It really, really, really does, because this is a worldwide international situation. Everything that happens here in the US has international repercussions. Everything that happens internationally has repercussions in the US. But we can't have those conversations because they've got us so distracted and everything is so teamified and all of this and all of that. And nobody wants to have real conversations anymore. And it's really, really, really important to look at things from a holistic lens, right? That's what the left likes to say. Things are holistic and stuff like that. But when we have these conversations, who's listening? Who's paying attention? So hit the like button, hit the share button real quick, and get this message out there. But as we're talking about this, I want to touch on a couple more points, because this is the future direction of where we're going. Let's bring it back to the situation with Minnesota and the immigration and stuff like that. What's happening with the immigration is not just happening in the US. It's happening in the European Union, outside of a couple of countries like Hungary, Poland. I forget the other two. There's like two more. Maybe it's Lithuania and one other one. Like, they're the only ones who didn't let in all of these foreigners into their nation, and they don't have this issue with all of these demographics and the destruction of their nations. It's crazy. And they tried to take out, what's his name? I can't remember the name. The president of Hungary, they tried to assassinate him. They tried to assassinate, where's the other guy from Slovenia? That's another country. Slovenia, they tried to assassinate him. They're over there trying to overthrow Slovenia now. They just tried to say that the UN wasn't going to recognize the election results and all this because they're trying to topple their government again, because these people don't want to be beholden to the EU. They don't want to be beholden to all of this nonsense with all of this globalist loss of sovereignty trash. And that's what these crazy people over here in the US are pushing for, and they don't even see what's going on. They don't even see what's going on. They're serving the purpose of the globalists. If you're going to tear down the country, the United States of America, right? Let's play this out. Let's play this out, right? We got the socialists and these communists that are talking about, oh, we want to overthrow the government. We want to overthrow America, blah, 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 for our interests, which don't actually match up with the American way of life or American history. Okay. You want to do that and replace it with what? Communism, socialism. Okay, cool. You want to do that, and what's going to happen to our country? How are you going to run the United States through a completely closed, centralized government? It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not physically possible. The country is too big, too populous, and you would need complete surveillance control over everything. Oh, wait. They need complete surveillance control over everything to do that. Interesting. Some other people are trying to push surveillance and the creep of surveillance on the other side. How is it that they're both working towards the same goal? Interesting. Something to keep in mind. And this is a conversation. You don't have to be on the same side to be using the same situation or the same method. That's what needs to be noted. I think George Carlin said it best about how all of the extremely affluent people and all of the people in Congress and everything are really working together, even though they don't know what the other people are doing, because they all go to the same schools. They all have the same vacation homes. They all are in each other's weddings. They're all married into each other's families. All of this, all of that. They know what's good for their own social class and their own strata, even if they're not communicating directly together. Well, this is what we see happen with these people on the left that are manipulating things, along with the people on the right that are manipulating things. Because don't get it twisted, there are people on both sides that are manipulating all of the American citizens, and they're trying to bring us to a situation in which, well, we don't exist as a nation the way that we think that we do, and the technocrats are in control on the right, or on the left, the technocrats or the socialists are in control on the left. Yes, I said technocrats on both sides. That's a conversation there in and of itself, and something we need to talk about. But we're not talking about that. All of these people that are behind the scenes, the whole shadow hand, okay, the government itself, okay, the Chinese, the foreign influences, okay, the wealthy billionaires, all right, all of these people are all working together, or in tandem, I should say, not necessarily together. In tandem is a better way to say it. In tandem for the same purpose of deteriorating the spirit of the American people, creating division in the American people so that they can more easily take over. That's it. It's that simple. And here we are. We got people out here causing problems on the streets to usher in further heavy-handedness from the federal government. At the same time, they're talking about they don't want fascism and they don't want heavy government. Who's stupid? Who's stupid? Who believes that noise? Like, because you look at what's going on and you're like, you're going to cause exactly the things that you don't want. And I bring this up because, again, if these crazy people do take power, what's going to happen? China is going to come in. They're going to carve up our country, make things worse, put more power in. China's already essentially in control of California. That's its whole own conversation. That's a big, huge problem. We got one county. I forget what the name of the county is, and go look this up too, because it's important. There's one county in, or it might be a city. It doesn't matter. Go look it up. there's this lady, and she's the head of like the board of elections, and she only speaks Chinese. She doesn't speak any English at all. Make that make sense. She's not even an American citizen. Make that make sense. How's that happen? How's that possible? You know, these are conversations that we need to have. We're not having them. We're not having them. And the people in our country are tearing down our country on the inside for who? Like, you're not going to benefit from tearing down our country. Like, are you stupid? You're just making us weak. And what's going to happen? All of our enemies, because remember, America's blown up pretty much all of the world. I don't know how many countries we haven't blown up, but I'm sure I can probably count them between my hands and my toes. You know, like, are we being serious right now? Like, our enemies would love to see us fall. If America falls tomorrow, Canada won't take us. Mexico won't take us. Who's going to take us? Stop being stupid. We have to preserve our nation. We have to preserve our way of life. All of these illegal aliens, they got to go because they're draining our resources. And at the end of the day, you'll say, oh, well, Marcus, they deserve this. I don't know what the hell they deserve, honestly. Okay. But whatever they deserve, it's not from us because they're not from our country. They're not our countrymen. They're not our citizens. They don't deserve a lick of spit from us. That's how serious this is. Because what you guys don't realize is what the CBO, which is the Congressional Budget Office, and the OMB, which is the Office of Budget and Management in the federal government, is saying that the AI and the machines are going to take all of the jobs in the country. They said like up to 70% of the jobs by 2030. By 2030, that's like 4 years away. Like, are we serious right now? That's like 4 years away. The federal government, even though nobody listens to them because they actually talk numbers and facts, even though nobody listens to the OMB and the CBO, they're still right. They're usually right, by the way. So when they're out here talking about all of the machines and the AI are going to take our jobs, we need to listen. But you know what? Don't even listen to them. Listen to the money man, Jamie Dimon. Jamie Dimon is the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, if you don't know. One of the biggest banks in the world and the biggest bank in the United States of America. He was at Davos too, okay? And he was at the World Economic Forum talking about, he said this is a quote from him, semi-quote. He said, well, AI is going to change the whole landscape that we're facing in the economy. And a lot of the jobs are going to go away and a lot of jobs are going to change and a lot of people will be replaced and maybe we'll make a couple of jobs, but it's going to change the whole world. And it is what it is. It is what it is, you guys, is a terrible, horrifying statement from one of the most powerful people in the world. That is a terrible, horrible statement. We're going to lose so many jobs, and you're saying it is what it is. Essentially, it's unavoidable. It's too late. And he said, you just have to prepare now for what you can. Essentially implying that we won't even be able to prepare that much at all. Like, I think people need to listen to him. He's the money man. You know what I'm saying? And he's deep into all of this stuff that's going on in the world. Like, we need to pay attention to the man when he speaks. Like, he's just echoing exactly what OMB said, exactly what the Congressional Budget Office said, and people aren't listening. Y'all got to wake up, and people are like, oh, well, the trades are still going to be there. How long? How long are the trades going to be there? 5 years, 10 years after that? All of these robots are humanoid robots that they're building. Some are job-specific robots, but a lot of them are humanoid, like the Tesla robot, like Atlas, like a lot of these other robots that are out there. I can't remember the other one that has like the muscles and stuff like that. Like, it's got like this whole system of muscles that are used through fluid muscles, and they've got another one that does like air compression muscles. It's crazy where we're going with robotics, but they're humanoid. So anything that a human could do, essentially they could do better and faster. So we need to really be concerned about how our economy is going to look in another couple of years. So what they're all really doing right now is they're pushing this nonsense on us now so they can destabilize us now before that chaos hits, so that they can have everything in order so that they're protected. And who suffers? Us. the American citizens, the everyday people, because everybody's distracted talking about, oh, red team, or oh, blue team, oh, Democrats, oh, Republicans. And in the meantime, you missed that they're doing everything that they can, putting in all of this nonsense that is going on to destabilize what's happening in our nation so that we can't even see or think about what's going on. Why? Why? We need to see what's going on. We need to pay attention. Oh, somebody said it was Romania. Romania was the one that I was talking about where they tried to assassinate. No. I think it was Slovenia also. I think it was Romania and Slovenia. They tried to assassinate the guy. They tried to assassinate the Hungary dude too. I like that dude. Viktor Orban, I like him. But I do think you're right about Romania. I think some crazy stuff's going on in Romania too. But Slovenia? Yeah, Slovenia. I was going to say Slovakia, but I don't think. Maybe something's going on in Slovakia too. I don't know. I think one of those isn't a country anymore, but I can't remember which one. There's so many countries over there and they change like every couple of years. So I don't remember completely. But I'm pretty sure it was Slovenia, and something just happened in, I don't remember. I'm not even going to sit here and play. So something happened in another country also in Europe. Whatever. It actually was kind of serious. I just don't remember. I wasn't going to talk about that tonight. But thank you. I appreciate you. As we have this conversation about the AI taking over, Jamie Dimon telling us, what happened? Is it still going? My screen looks like it froze. So I hope the video is still going. Anyway, I'm going to keep talking and we'll see if it's going on. I don't know what's going on here. Something seems to have happened to the video. But with what we've got going on with our country, we need to really understand that stuff is serious. And if we don't start paying attention to what's going on, we're going to miss everything. We're going to miss everything. And I don't know how we change anything if we actually don't start standing up. Now we've got to stand up because tomorrow's too late. And if we are not the ones to say, hey, we've got problems here, nothing will change. And we have to make sure that we're actually getting stuff done now. Because if we don't, I don't know what to tell you for later. I really don't. We're going in a direction that's like a highway down the wrong path real fast. And nothing is being done about it. Nothing whatsoever. I'm praying. I'm hoping. I'm staying strong. I'm also trying to work on this video at the same time. So please bear with me, you guys. Something happened to the camera. As we have these conversations about the important issues, I really am concerned. Like, I'm not going to play. I'm going to try to do this. Let's see. So as we have these conversations about the serious issues that we have going on, let me try to change the camera to the other side here. Excuse me with my issues with my technology right now. Emergency camera adjustment. Let's see. We'll fix that in a minute. Change this here. Here we go. Let's see. All right, there we go. We are back, you guys, back in action. All right, excuse the camera issue. So as we talk about the CBO changing things and what's going on with the AI taking over, we have to talk about what are our jobs going to look like? What's going to happen? This is why we have to get rid of all the illegal aliens. Because if we do not get rid of the illegal aliens, we're not going to have enough of an ability to actually service our own citizens. And that's a conversation that's not being had. Why, Marcus? Why should we get rid of all the illegal aliens? Well, it's very simple. If we don't get rid of them, we're going to be having them versus our own citizens. The whole reason why the illegal aliens and more immigrants keep pouring into our borders is because the people in power want them to pour into our borders. Why? Ask yourself why. Why? It doesn't generally help America for all of these foreigners to come in. So why would they want that to happen? It's real simple. They want to create a class that's separate from American citizens that they can use for whatever they want, that'll be beholden only to whoever's paying them. That's why they want these illegal aliens. That's why they want these foreigners. That's why they want them all here. That's why they want them all now. And this is something that's not being talked about. And this is why I want them all gone. Because I don't want to compete with them. I don't want to have to go to war with these other people that are already agents inside my own nation. Like, people are not paying attention. People are not paying attention. People see, oh, well, this is this. They look at the surface, right? They look at real surface measurement stuff. That's why I try to have real serious conversations with you guys when I'm streaming and stuff, because this stuff is for real. And it's a lot of pieces of the puzzle together. It's just that a lot of people don't have enough time or mental capacity to actually follow it from the beginning to the end. What's going on is in our country, and I'm going to explain this. Hopefully it's very simple. So clip this. In our country right now, what is happening as we march towards this AI revolution, we are going to see these classes become harder and harder for people to be socially mobile in. So that means that if you're in the middle class, like you used to be able to be in the middle class and kind of move to the lower upper class, or be in the lower class and kind of move to the middle class, that's pretty much gone. You pretty much die in the socioeconomic status that you come into the world now. That's how the country is going. And with these foreigners are all being pumped into our country, especially the illegal aliens, it's even more highly challenging because, like I said earlier in the show, we're not even focused on our education. Our children are graduating. They can't get a job at McDonald's. So who are they competing with these entry-level jobs for? These foreigners that are coming in over here, low skilled, low wage, low labor, can't really do anything because they don't even speak the language, don't know how things work, and they have no skills. So who are they competing with? They're competing with jobs that the everyday man could get. McDonald's, working a farm, doing something in a factory. Like we see often, a lot of these factories get busted, like meat packaging and stuff like that. And then we see, or the Honda, that was it Kia or was it Honda? I don't know. It might have been Toyota. Okay. One of those companies that was doing the cars, like they had all of these Korean workers there, like crazy. Like, so this is serious and we need to talk about it because they are taking our jobs. They are taking our jobs. Any job given to a foreigner, any job that's given to somebody from abroad, that's a job for an American citizen. And we need to do everything to keep those jobs firmly in place. So if we're not focusing on that right now, we're going to end up in a serious problem. So the people in the middle class and the lower class will compete with these foreigners who do not care about America. They do not care about our country. They just care about being able to produce for themselves and probably send some money back home, which is why I did support the concept of putting a extra 3%, what do you call it? 3% cost on anybody that sends money overseas. I thought that was very ingenious. That's important. We need that. And then Congress was like, oh, don't do that because they skimming too. Whole nother conversation. But that's important. That's important because if they're sending money out of our economy, that means that we don't have money in our neighborhoods. If this money is coming out of our economy, that means that the value that is able to be spent in our communities is less, which means that there's less money circulating, which means that our economy is worth less. And the more worth less things are, the closer to being worthless it is. So we need to pay attention to that. So now we've got these people on the bottom that are squishing us up, that we can't go up because you got the high level people, Okay, the high class people, they don't want you to come up, so they can try to keep you down. And you got the low people squeezing you out of the middle. But wait, there's more. We got this whole other group of foreigners that are coming in on H-1B visas, O-1B, I think it's O-1B. I think it's a B at the end of the O-1 visas. And all of these other visas, what's the C-1 and a couple of other visas that they got coming in over here to do all of this work and stuff like that. And they're more high-paid jobs, or at least allegedly with some of the H-1B visas, who clearly they're not all being high-paid, even though that's what they're supposed to be used for. But we've got a lot of these people now that are above the average everyday American, that are above the average everyday American worker. They're above us. So we got the foreigners above us and we got the foreigners below us. Now look what's happening. We're being sandwiched out from the top and the bottom, and we're being squeezed out of the whole sandwich. And our people are suffering because of it. And people are like, oh, well, it's enough for everybody. It's not enough for everybody. It's not, because that's not how society works. For jobs and positions and stuff like that, you need training, you need skills, you need labor, or you need knowledge, you need know-how. You need all of these different things to work these different positions. Let's be honest. And I was watching one of the ladies that runs a military defense company the other day, and she's like, yeah, man, we'd love to hire more people, but even with all the training programs and stuff, it's going to take us another 10 years to hire the people that we need with the skills that we need, because we're going to have to train people to have those skills. But by that time, we'll have all machines doing all of the jobs. You'll have all machines doing all of the jobs. And this is what I'm talking about, back to the AI and the machines, and why we got to get rid of all of these foreigners. Because she said it out her mouth. In the next 10 years, all the jobs will be taken by machines in her company. That is serious. That should be the red flag and the alarm for everybody. Like, she's got a multi-million-dollar, okay, I think they do something like almost a couple $1 billion a year. I forget what the name of her company is, but they do a couple $1 billion in contracts a year just with the government. Just with the government. And she's talking about in another 10 years, because the people who don't have the skills now, they're turning everything into robots. But you go to McDonald's, and the McDonald's is all robots. There's some McDonald's is, depending on where you go in the country, the whole thing is run by machines, run by AI, run by robots. It's got like one person in there. Like, we got to be honest with what's going on and happening in our country. And it's very, very, very serious. But not enough people want to have these important conversations. It's so bad. Somebody said, no foreigners to replace us. Don't pay attention to Fox News. You're an idiot. Straight facts. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. Excuse me, I should say you don't know what the heaven you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about at all. It's not about replacement. It's about diminishing returns. The fact is the jobs are going away, like I'm mentioning, and people are like, oh, nobody's being replaced. You're an idiot if you think that people aren't being replaced. Of course people are being replaced, because if you can pay somebody for less to work longer and to do more, of course you'd pay the person less. Who's stupid? Like, that's basic business. Come on now. Come on now. Who's stupid? Wake up. This is very serious. So I'll leave you guys with this, because this is the direction of the world that we're going in right now. And they want to squeeze us out, so we can't fight back, so we can't do anything, because they know that once this AI thing really hits, it's going to be so much destabilization and stuff. They have to have ways to control us, because people can't work, can't eat. People can't work, can't get no money. Government ain't got no money because all the illegal aliens and all the foreigners have expended it. Social Security is gone by 2035, y'all. That's another 9 years. We're out of money. I really hope that some of Trump's plans with the sovereign wealth fund and these baby bonds and other things really work on stabilizing our economy and stuff. But we have to face facts. Right now, if things proceed where they are from today forward, we're in trouble. And Trump, being the president, can't do it all himself. It's really these very Democrat-run states that are the problem. You know, we see prices on energy going down all across the country because of what Trump has done. And here in New York, the price of energy is going up. Explain it to me like I'm five. Why is that happening? It's very simply happening because of the policies that have been instituted by these Democrats in New York State. Trump's got no control over New York State. He can do what he can on the federal level, but the people that are hurting us in New York State are the Democrats and their policies and their regulations and their taxes, which are bananas. But can we talk about that? We need to. We need to. Trump is not the savior. Trump is not going to save everybody. He's going to do what he can in the position to do what he can. But it's us that need to get active in our different areas, our different states, our different localities, and stuff like that. Because the president can't do anything, no matter what these crazy people outside running in the streets that hate Trump so much think that he can do. One of the biggest problems is Congress. I talk about them all the time. I think almost all of them need to get tipped over and poured out. But secondary to Congress, it's the state level governments that are the problem. And we really need to have that conversation. We really are in a very serious situation. We need to stand up and pay attention to what's going on. These distractions between the Democrat and the Republican are all ways to usurp us as sovereign individuals. They don't want us to have the power. That's why the state keeps putting in more laws and more provisions. And this is important. It really, really is important. People don't want to talk about it. We see what's going on again, and this is important to me. The Second Amendment is very important. We've got these people in Minnesota right now out there, open carry, this, that, and the third, all things that I support. But they're out there saying that people should shoot the ICE. Are you dumb? Are you trying to get them to put more Second Amendment limitations in place? Are you trying to make it so that the policing on the federal level goes even higher and more serious? Like, are you stupid? Like, are you trying to cause problems for us? Like, yes, they are trying to cause problems for us, and people need to wake up and pay attention to what's going on. It's really very direly serious, but people aren't paying attention. But hey, we can only do what we can do. So I encourage you to find a way to get active locally, because we can't do everything ourselves, but we can make little changes in our communities through legislation, through policy, to actually preserve some of our rights, liberties, and freedoms. And that's where we start. But I encourage you, just get a little bit active, go to a town board meeting or a school board meeting, or join your local political committee, because if we don't do anything, nobody's going to do anything. And don't fall in with this whole, my team nonsense. You got to remember, the bigger picture is the government is out for itself. It's not about individuals in the government. It's the government itself is its own living entity organism. Okay. It doesn't care about anybody. These foreign interests, they don't care about anybody. Okay. These China, they don't care about anybody. It's these other people that are out for themselves. They don't care about anybody. They don't care about anybody. We have to stand up. We have to get active. I don't care what anybody says about these illegal aliens. I don't care what anybody says about, oh, we need to stand up against authoritarianism. Listen, I lived through COVID. I don't know how old you were when you lived through COVID, okay? But I figure most of you were of cognizant ability, like you had some thoughts in your head, you can think. And if you lived through COVID, you saw people saying that you needed to check your passport, your Vax pass, to go into a store. They told you to call and inform on your friends and family during Thanksgiving if they had more than 2 people over for Thanksgiving. And we're going to act like that didn't happen. Like, these are the same people that supported that are out here talking about, oh, we're anti-fascist. No, you're not. You are the fascists. Stop playing in my face. I remember what happened during COVID. Now Hawaii is talking about, Oh, they want the people that are concealed carry permit holders to wear an orange band on their arm. You want the people that are concealed carry holders to wear an orange band on their arm in Hawaii? That's what you want to do? Like, and these crazy crackpots are out here talking about, oh, we don't want fascism and we don't want we don't want all of this, we don't want all of that. Clearly you do, because when this stuff pops up, you don't got nothing to say. Nothing. Here in my city, we got, it's a lot of them are very far left, right? We got an area of the city, it's called the East End, and they shut it down last year, or maybe it was the year before last, right in the winter time. They shut it down and they said that you got to show your ID to get into a public neighborhood. You make it make sense. And where were all of these anti-fascist people then? None of them spoke up about that. None of them had nothing to say. It's because none of this stuff is organic. These people don't have a single solitary thought in their mind that goes against the narrative that is being pushed to them online and through the news. Now, don't let me say that, make that sound like, oh, well, the Republicans or the people on the right have everything all together. A lot of the people are just going along with a lot of the stuff that's going on there too. It's just way worse on the left because the lefts are in bed with the globalists and they don't even see it. They're serving the globalist interests 100%. But this is the problem. And never forget that the globalists are one of the fingers on the shadow hand. Like, this is very important. On the left, we've even got people that are now talking about globalism, that we need to have more people in all of this and all of that, like Vic Ramaswamy. We need to let in more foreigners. We need to let in more Chinese. We need to let in more Indians. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Okay? It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. This guy asks, what is a globalist? And I'll leave you with that. A globalist is somebody that doesn't believe that a nation should have its own sovereignty. Essentially, it means that Canada isn't Canada, America isn't America, Botswana isn't Botswana, and all of them are together through some either one world government or some greater overarching entity that controls everything, similar to the UN. And that's a problem because that removes state sovereignty. I was talking to somebody from Poland the other day, and you would think that if they're from Poland, oh, well, they'd be a conservative, right? Because what we know about Poland is a heavily conservative country, like Hungary. And they were explaining a lot of, yes, that. They were explaining a lot of how things work over there. And they're younger, so they're leftist, right? So they're like, well, yeah, but what a lot of us want is us to have closer ties to the EU. And look at Brexit and how England pulled out of the EU and it didn't work out so good for them, or whatever the case. That's not true. Brexit wasn't a problem for the United Kingdom. What was a problem was they let in all those people from all across the world, okay? And that's the problem, So it wasn't them pulling out of the European Union that was the problem, even though there were some issues that presented from that, but we already knew that because of the way that they wrote up the contract to get in the EU. But here's the thing. When you talk about, I was talking to this girl and she was like, yeah, so I want closer ties to the European Union. I said, well, if you want the European Union, and she was telling me the history of the country, and apparently Poland didn't exist for like 100 years because they got invaded and like they got wiped off the map for like 100 years. I didn't know that. That was interesting. So she was saying that she wants closer ties to the EU. I said, but if you get closer ties to the EU, then it'll be like your country is erased once again. And I was like, don't you see that? Don't you understand? She's like, well, I still want my country to have its sovereignty. And I was like, you can't if you're part of the EU. But that's what you're arguing for. And she was like, oh, I never thought about it like that. And this is exactly what we need to talk about, because a lot of these people say that they stand by these things. They say that they believe these things, but they don't even think about what the implications of of these things actually are. It's really, really, really serious. And we need to have a conversation about it. Because when I was talking to her, she was like, oh, shoot, I didn't realize that all of the closer ties to the European Union would actually have us lose our sovereignty. And I was like, that's why Britain left. That's why they left. And you're telling me here that you're concerned about your country losing its sovereignty, and you want to give up your country's sovereignty to be part of the European Union. Listen to yourself. And it hadn't dawned on her that with the positives that come along with joining the European Union, because she was like, oh, well, free trade and free transportation, like not free transportation, but you can go through all of the countries with one passport. So, and she'd never put it together that that would lead them to losing their sovereignty. And that's what's going on with these globalists in the United States right now. They're so fiercely independent and anti-government that they don't realize that what they're calling for is going to be the destruction of what they believe are their own rights. So we have to stand up, and we have to encourage people to really have the tough conversations now more than ever, because if we don't, we're headed to a very bad place. All right, you guys, I'll catch you guys later. Please share this video, hit the like button, and make sure that you get the message out there. And please be sure to subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. And if you want to help out the channel, right on either side right here, okay, that's how you can help out. Or if you're watching us on the vertical format right there at the top, that's how you can help out. Okay, I'll catch you guys later. Remember, stand up, speak up, don't shut up, take action. Be blessed and be well.